Ezekiel chapter 29. It is now Egypt's turn for prophecies from God to Ezekiel. Okay? And Ezekiel is now next in line. And actually, this prophecy was delivered a few months before the preceding prophecies against Tyre. Okay? And I mentioned this last week. The prophecies against the nations, all these nations, they're given not in chronological order, but according to their geographical order, their distance from Jerusalem. Okay? Their nearness and distance to Jerusalem. So now we come, verse 1, in the 10th year, in the 10th month. Now I'm going to assume that this would, what year was this? Was it 10 years from the beginning of the captivity, which is a possibility? Not real sure. Let's see. My Bible, the date on my Bible, that they kind of stick in there. Somebody sticks in there. Who knows whether it's right or not. Mine says 589 BC, which is right about, this is 590 BC was close to the time when Nebuchadnezzar moved in to besiege Jerusalem. 589, just a year later. Okay. So, but is this, let's see, if we go with 605 BC as being the start of the captivity, 598, that's 8 years, 9 years, we're not exactly sure, somewhere in there. Okay. 10th year, 10th month, 12th day of the month. And so it was, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, okay, again, we don't know exactly what the date is for, but we can make just a guess that it is 10 years in from the beginning of the captivity. And when during the time when Nebuchadnezzar is besieging Jerusalem. So, Son of man, set thy face against Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and prophesy against him and against all Egypt. Okay? Egypt is in God's sights right now, and at this time, Jerusalem's been besieged. It hasn't been taken yet, and Jeremiah delivered his prophecy against Egypt about the time when, now apparently, okay, we've got an Egyptian pharaoh here. Now, my Barnes notes suggests it's Pharaoh Hophra. Okay, my little timeline here, in very tiny itty bitty print down here at the bottom, suggests his name was Necho II. Like I said, pick your Bible scholar, pick your timeline, whatever. Pick whoever you want for a scientist or a Bible scholar, and you'll get different answers every time. So we've got he's either or, his name. If Pharaoh Hophra, that was his other name, might have been Necho II, who knows? We don't. All we know is God says, Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Okay? And prophesy against him. And at about this time, okay, Pharaoh Hophra, or Necho, he kind of was moving up, if you will, supposedly to aid Israel in their fight against Nebuchadnezzar, to help Israel. They were never any very good help to Israel at all. And so he's moving up, and Hophra's army caused the Chaldeans, the Babylonians, Nebuchadnezzar, for a short time to kind of cease the siege. They've still got the army around there, but now they've got an army coming up from Egypt. Okay, and that's gonna complicate plans for Nebuchadnezzar. So, and this was apparently a one-time instance of Egypt meddling with the affairs of Palestine or Syria after the Battle of Carchemish. Battle of Carchemish, 605 BC, Nebuchadnezzar defeated the Egyptian army, okay? And they were sent packing. So this was, after that, this was one time they were meddling in the elections, okay, and doing all sorts, yeah, and so and it met, with speedy punishment. Nebuchadnezzar moved on down, defeated him, speedy punishment. Okay, it didn't last. So, speak and say. So this would probably be, when he delivers this prophecy, probably right at about the same time that Pharaoh is thinking about moving up, before he's moving up, or right in that time frame. Thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee. Okay? And watch out if God says he's against you. Okay? Because you're in trouble. I am against thee, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, the great dragon that lieth in the midst of his rivers. Of course, the king is addressed as the embodiment of the state, and here he's referred to as the great dragon, or the Nile crocodile. Okay, apparently they are fearsome beasts, and the Egyptians they either worshipped the Nile crocodile, they feared him, or they viewed either worshipped him and loved him, the Nile crocodile, or they viewed him with abhorrence, fear. Animal, terrible, venerated, okay, or hated. And this was an apt image of the proud Egyptian king. Okay? And Nile crocodiles, they've found mummified Nile crocodiles in some of the tombs. They were embalmed after death, worshipped and embalmed, and put in with the, that would be, just think, you are Pharaoh, king of Egypt, okay? You've just built yourself one huge whatever for a tomb, pyramid or whatever you want, for a tomb, and you compare yourself to the Nile crocodile. Okay, so in order to enable your journey to heaven, to the Egyptian heaven, they supplied you, food, gold. They packed all that stuff into the tombs. For the pharaohs to make their way to heaven, and with chariots and everything, slaves, they'd kill the pharaoh's servants and put them in the tomb so that he would have servants in heaven when he got there. Plenty of food, plenty of servants. So all these mummified, and they've got Nile crocodiles in there, because he was the embodiment, this crocodile, of the Pharaoh. Okay? And worshipped, of course, Yeah. And, but they also, you watch these, shows on like the History Channel or Discovery Channel or the Science Channel, secrets of ancient Egypt, all that sort of stuff. You name it, they embalmed it and put it in the tombs. Cats, the cats were big in Egypt. So and apparently they had a huge kitten factory, kitten raising factory to raise millions of cats to embalm in the tombs. Yeah. Okay. So that's terrible, venerated, apt image for an Egyptian monarch. It was. It actually was a little less formidable than it appeared, and the crocodile often became easy prey to those people who tried to, who knew what they were doing, crocodile people or in Florida, the alligator farms in Florida where the alligator wrestlers go out and you can, watch them subdue an fierce 50-foot-long alligator, whatever, subdue them. Well, yeah, easy prey. But here this is the great dragon that lieth in the midst of his rivers, which hath said, okay, here we go, Pharaoh saying, my river is mine own. This is my river. This is not your river. This is my river. Okay? I am God in Egypt. Just like in Zidon last week, he said, King said, I'm God. Okay? Well, the Egyptian pharaohs said they were gods, living gods, and so the river is his, mine own, and I have made it for myself. It's all mine. Okay? But I will put hooks in thy jaws. This was one way to, if you will, subdue a Nile crocodile. Okay? You get a common, anyway, that's how they were able to render them easy prey. You get a big hook, and you know what you're doing, and you get this hook in the jaws and clamp the jaws shut. Or, like the alligator hunters, fighters do, they just clamp on the jaws. They can, they're really dangerous to close their jaws. If you get your hand in the way of a closing alligator jaw or crocodile jaw, it's gone. But if you clamp it shut, tie it shut, whatever. Duct tape, there we go. Yeah. Or baling wire. Duct tape, baling wire, whatever. Can't live without duct tape or baling wire. I will, and here's God saying, I will put hooks in thy jaws, and I will cause the fish of thy rivers, okay, the fish of thy rivers to stick unto thy scales, and I will bring thee up out of the midst of thy rivers, okay, fish of thy rivers. This would be Egypt's allies, Egypt's friends. Egypt had friends. Okay, Egypt was also connected with Tyre and Zidon and the trading and the commerce that went on. Egypt traded with Tyre and Zidon. Okay? Remember, Zidon was predecessor of Tyre, but they all traded together. They were all buddy-buddy when it came to trade and commerce, okay, and making money. So I'll bring thee up out of the midst of thy rivers, and all the fish of thy rivers shall stick unto thy scales. That's kind of a, stick unto thy scales. Yeah, they'll cling to you, and they will be subdued also. That would be kind of the picture here. Sticking to the scales of the crocodile, you've got the crocodile subdued, so, and he's going to lose, and all of Egypt's allies, they're going to lose. And I will leave thee thrown into the wilderness. Okay? Catch a crocodile, get him away from his river, away from his natural element, if you will, his river, and throw him out there in the middle of the desert. Just pack. He needs the water. He needs that, and thrown into the wilderness, out into the desert. Thee and all the fish of thy rivers. And this is a picture of destruction, the destruction of Egypt. Now, we don't have, there's no record, if you will, of the circumstances of the Chaldean invasion of Egypt. But it's possible that it did not take place till after the fall of Tyre. Okay? Ezekiel is just making the prophecy of destruction, but there's no timeline here for that destruction, if you will. It's going to happen. God says it's going to happen, but there's no timeline for it. And we've got some, it must have been by comparing the description of the results of the Assyrian conquest, okay, and there is a minute fulfillment of every detail of prophecy. It's going to happen. Prophecy, God's prophecy is going to happen, but minute details of timeline, when it's going to happen. There are still prophecies that God made about Israel that are still ongoing. They haven't exactly happened yet. They're still working on those. Right? Still waiting for the Jewish people to accept Jesus as their Messiah. Okay? And when the Jewish people finally realize that a whole bunch of prophecies are going to come true then, right? So there's no great stress to be laid on the exact number of years, and of course the number of years passed in the wilderness, 40 years. Became to the Hebrews a significant period of chastisement. Right? That 40 years. They were in the wilderness for 40 years. Okay, and they're going to be in captivity for 70 years. And Nebuchadnezzar's occupation of Egypt during this time was no long duration. And, he didn't completely destroy the place. Okay? And peace with Babylon was favorable. The Egyptian Pharaoh makes peace with Babylon. Okay? We'll be subject to you. We'll make peace with you. Can we still continue our trade and commerce and making money so that we can stay rich? Okay? Nebuchadnezzar's ravages were, the beginning of the end. and all the desolation that's mentioned here, which follow may be looked upon as continuous fulfillment of God's decree. Okay? It takes a while. God takes a while with stuff that he does. Okay? So it's no big deal. But, okay, and I will leave thee thrown into the wilderness, thee and all the fish of thy rivers. Thou shalt fall upon the open fields. Okay? Thou shalt not be brought together, nor gathered. They're going to be scattered. I have given thee for meat to the beasts of the field and to the fowls of the heaven. Now, if you're a crocodile out there in the middle of the wilderness, away from your natural element, and guess what you are? You are breakfast, lunch, and dinner for any predatory beasts out there that can get you. Okay? And that's about it. You're dead meat. You're toast, your dinner, your lunch, brunch, whatever. Okay? For the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven. And verse 6, this is where we'll stop. All the inhabitants of Egypt shall know that I am the Lord, because they have been a staff of reed to the house of Israel. Okay, and we'll get into this staff of reed. Okay. Now, kind of the picture here, the staff of reed, the Nile reeds, they were good for a lot of stuff. But for a walking stick or a cane or a shepherd's staff, they weren't real good for that because they bent.